Hi everyone, I'm Dr. P.KAVITHA, Associate Professor of Economics, A.D.M. College for Women, Autonomous, Nagapattinam. Today my topic, concept of labor. Now, meaning of labor. Labor is the act of mental and physical activity on some work for some monetary benefit. Any work or services rendered by the professional such as doctors, engineers, teachers, etc. are all included in the labor. It means all human exertion that is put into the production of goods and services. Alternatively, any activity done with the intention of happiness or pleasure or doing any art work for hobby will not count in labor. Otherwise, if the artwork is sold out for some consideration, then the same will be called as labor. Define labor. Any exertion of mind or body undergone partly or wholly with a view to directly from the work is called labor. This is Marshall definition. Then Thomas defined a labor connotes all human effort of body or mind which are undertaken in the expectation of reward. Then types of labor. There are three types of labor. One is skilled, second one semi-skilled, third one unskilled labor. Now skilled labor. The skilled labor refers to job which required specialized training and skills. People who performed skilled labor usually have at least a bachelor degree. Skilled laborers receive the highest salary in the organization. That is lawyer, accountant, and medical doctors are just a few examples. Second one is unskilled labor. Unskilled labor refers to work that does not require any special skills. All that is required of unskilled labor is the willingness to work with hands. Most unskilled labor require no or little formal education. Unskilled laborers usually receive the lowest wages in the organization. For example, unskilled laborers are gardeners, cleaners, and messengers. Third one is semi-skilled labor. While not a skilled labor, semi-skilled labor require more skill than unskilled labor. Semi-skilled labor require only remunerated knowledge about a particular field. Example of skilled labor are nurse, assistants, and flight attendants. Characteristics of labor. Labor has some characteristics. Labor is perishable. Labor is highly perishable than the other factors of production. They cannot be warehoused. They cannot be postponed or accumulated for the next day. Once the time is lost, it is lost forever. Second one is labor cannot be isolated from the labor. Any other factors of production can be separated, but not labor from laborers. Labor and laborers are indispensable for each other. For instance, it is not possible to bring the ability of a teacher to teach in the school, leaving the teacher at home. Less mobility of labor. When compared to capital and other goods, labor is less mobile. Capital can be mobilized from one place to another, and labor cannot be transformed from one place to another easily. A laborer may not be ready to go off places, leaving his native place. Then, work bargaining power of labor. It means the ability of buyer to purchase articles at least price than that of seller to a higher price is called work bargaining power. A labor sells his labor for wages and the employer buys and compensating money. Mostly laborers have poor bargaining power since they are weak and poor, whereas employers are comparatively having high bargaining power for hiring laborers. Then, fifth one, inelastic supply of labor. In any particular time period, the elasticity of supply is inelastic in any nation. It means their supply can neither be raised nor subsidized. They cannot be made to order like other goods. Next one, labor is a human being and not a machine. Each and every laborer has his own like and dislike. They should not be hurt for they have feelings. Also, they cannot work 24 hours a day and 365 days a year. We cannot become owner for a labor is the actual sense. Increase in the wages may reduce the supply of labor. In the event, if the wages are high, the whole family members are to work for their living. On the other hand, if the wages are high, then only one family member may work and hence the supply reduces. Then, difficulties to find out the cost of production of labor. It is difficult to ascertain the cost of labor done by a laborer since it is based on his efficiency, experiences, human moral. Also, if the labor is a professional, it is not easy to ascertain his cost of production, such as clothing, education, food, etc. Then labor creates capital. Capital, which is considered as a separate factor of production, is in reality is the result of reward for labor. He earned property out of production. Capital is formulated and accumulated by labor. It is evident that labor is more important in the process of production than the capital, since capital is the outcome of the laborer's labor. The labor problems. The labor problem is the economic term widely used toward the turn of 20th century, which varies applications. It has been defined in many ways, such as the problem of improving conditions of employment of the wages earning classes. The labor problem encompasses the difficulties faced by the wage earners and the employers who begin to cut wages for various reasons, including increased technology, desire for lower costs, or to stay in the business. The wage earning classes responded with a strike by and the committing acts as outright violence. It was nationwide problem that spanned nearly all industries and helped to contribute to modern business conditions still seen today. Possible causes include the failure to account for the negative externality of reproduction in the face of finite natural resources, which result in oversupply of labor and falling living standard for wage laborers, personalization by machines and poor working conditions. Now, characteristics of Indian labor. Labor is original and indispensable factor of production. Labor is original and indispensable factor of production. Without it, the work of production is not possible. Labor is very important means in comparison to other means of production. It is because of labor, the use of labor and other natural means it is possible in production work. Labor plays an active role. Second characteristic, labor is an active factor of production. Land and capital are considered as passive factor of production because they alone cannot start the production process. Production from land and capital starts only when a man makes effort. Production begins with the active participation of man. Therefore, labor is an active factor of production. Third one, labor is perishable than any other commodity. Labor is more perishable than other factors of production. It means labor cannot be stored. The labor as an unemployed worker is lost forever for that day when he does not work. Labor can neither be postponed nor accumulated for the next day. It will perish. Once time is lost, it is lost forever. Then labor cannot be separated from the labor. Land and capital can be separated from their owner, but labor cannot be separated from the laborer. Labor and laborer are indispensable for each other. For example, it is not possible to bring the ability a teacher to teach in the school, leaving the teacher at home. The labor of a teacher can work only if he himself is present in the class. Therefore, labor and laborer cannot be separated from each other. Labor is less mobile. As compared to capital and other goods, labor is less mobile. Capital can be easily transferred from one place to other, but labor cannot be transferred easily from its present place to other place. A labor is not ready to go to far off places, leaving his native place and his kith and kin. Therefore, labor has less mobility. Then, labor supply is inelastic. The supply of labor is often found inelastic in a country at a particular time. It means that their supply can neither be increased nor decreased if the need demands. For example, a country has a scarcity of particular type of workers. Their supply cannot be increased within a day, month or year. Laborers cannot be made or ordered like other goods. The supply of labor can be increased to a limited extent by importing labor from other countries in the short period. The supply of labor is very much dependent upon the size of the population. Population cannot be increased or decreased quickly. Therefore, the supply of labor has been considered as inelastic to a great extent. It cannot be increased or decreased immediately. 7th one, a laborer sells his labor and not himself. A laborer sells his labor for wage and not himself. The worker sells work but himself remains his own property. For example, when we purchase an animal, we become owner of the services as well as the body of the animal, but we cannot become the owner of a laborer if the sex. Labor has weak bargaining power. Laborers have a very weak bargaining power because their labor cannot be stored and they are poor, ignorant, and less organized. Moreover, labor as a class does not have reserve to fall back upon when either there is no work or the wage rate is so low that it is not worth working. Poor laborers have to work their subsistence. Therefore, the laborers have a weak bargaining power as compared to the employers. Labor is both beginning and the end of the production. The presence of land and capital alone cannot make production. Production can be started only with the help of the labor. It means labor is the beginning of production. Goods are produced to satisfy human wants when we consume them. Production comes to an end. Therefore, labor is both the beginning and the end of the production. Next, efficiency of labor differs. Laborer differ in efficiency. Some laborers are more efficient due to their ability, training, and skill, whereas others are less efficient on account of their illiteracy and ignorance, etc. Now, labor cannot be engaged continuously in the production like machines. Every laborer has his ability and efficiency to work. He has his own taste, habit, and feelings. Therefore, laborers cannot be made to work like machines. Laborers cannot work round the clock like machines. After continuous work for a few hours, leisure is essential for them. Labor creates capital. Capital is formulated and accumulated by labor. It is evident that labor is more important in the process of production than capital because capital is the result of the working of labor. Then it is difficult to calculate the cost of production of labor. We can calculate the cost of production of a machine, but it is not easy to calculate the cost of production of a laborer. It is very difficult to calculate the cost of bargaining of children as to how much is the total cost on his education, food, class, etc. Labor has no tangible form. Labor has no tangible form, just like labor has no reserve price. Labor can be seen, cannot be touched, but labor cannot be seen. Then, what is migration? The movement of a person or people from one country, locality, place of residence, etc., to settle in another on insistence of this. Migration is the first and foremost a normal human activity. Human beings have always moved from one country to one country, that is locality, place of residence, to settle in another. Labor migrants are defined as those who move for purposes of employment. Economic migrants from a potentially broader group that include people entering a state to perform economic activities, such as investors or business travelers, but can be understood also in the narrower sense, similar to a category of labor migrants. Impact of migration. Migration is becoming a very important subject for the life of cities. Many opportunities and attraction of big cities pull large number of people to big cities. Migration can have positive as well as a negative effect on the life of migrants. Positive impact: unemployment is reduced and people get better job opportunities. Migration helps in improving the quality of life of people. It helps to improve social life of people as they learn about new culture, customs, and languages, which help to improve brotherhood among the people. Migration of skilled workers lead to greater economic growth of the region. Children can get better opportunities for higher education. The population density is reduced and the birth rate decreases. The negative factor: the loss of a person from rural areas impact on the level of output development of rural areas. The influx of workers in urban areas increases competition for jobs, houses, school facilities, etc. Having large population puts too much pressure on natural resources, amenities and services. It is difficult for a villager to serve in urban areas because in urban areas there is no natural environmental and pure air. They have to pay for each and everything. Migration changes the population of a place. Therefore, the distribution of the population uneven in India. Many migrants are completely illiterate and uneducated. Therefore, they are not only unfit for most jobs, but also lack basic knowledge and life skills. Poverty makes them unable to live in a normal and healthy life. Children growing up in a poverty have access to the proper nutrition, education, or health. Migration increased the slum areas in cities, which increased many problems such as unhygienic conditions, crime, pollution, etc. Sometimes migrants are exploited. Migration is one of the main causes of increasing nuclear families, where children grow up without wider family circles. Thank you.